everybody and welcome to my channel. My name is Marlies, aka Marley Design. I have been invited to do a collaboration. I've been asked by Mandy and Justine from the Facebook group Junk Journaling Ideas and Inspiration. I would strongly recommend to check them out because the Facebook group is really active. They have tips and tricks. They have people that post their makes. And if you have any questions, just pop them on there and people will react to you. So you will get a bit of understanding and knowledge about junk journaling. In this collaboration there are a lot of artists in the whole month of May that are posting their video for you guys. And they are telling about how they got into junk journaling. And they have quite a few tips for you to get started or to get even better in your making process. This collaboration can be found under the hashtag #MayYouBeInspired. Before I get into telling my story, I would like to thank Mandy and Justine for this opportunity. It is very, very honoring to have been asked for this collaboration among all those great ladies. So thank you, Mandy, and thank you, Justine. How did I get into this hobby, junk journaling? I started out very simple by making cards and paper boxes and just a scoreboard. I was just trying things out. I liked it and that made me buy even more supplies like paints, inks, just basic tools like brayers and brushes, and that kept me going and just trying out things over and over again. For the things that I did not know or did not have the knowledge about, I started following an online course where I could learn how to use different kind of mediums together, like paste and inks and paints, and that started the ball a little bit rolling in my creative process. After that it was all about just doing, being active in creating, trying things out, build your knowledge and get better in what you do and enjoy it even more. So after a while I also made some like frames, little booklets, journaling cards, envelopes, paper ephemera. But now I was left with all those loose pieces of made items and what to do with it. That means I was searching for a way to put all those loose elements into just one piece. And there comes in junk journaling. I mean, you make a journal and you can put every kind of paper craft inside. How wonderful to have it all together in one place. I started focusing more on bindings, different kind of bindings, stitching, non-sewing bindings, altering existing books, and make fun little things like mini books, lap books, and for example ring booklets. The most important advice that I can give you is just to understand it is just paper you are working with. It is not like gold you can mess up or glass that you can break. It is just paper, and that means when you think about your project in that kind of way, it is doable. It can be replaced. You can start over again. And that made me feel very free in creating. I mean, the weight is on your shoulder. It does not have to be anything, but it can be. So it turned out in just playing time. Playing, trying stuff out, figuring out how everything can go together, and just have a good time. And this was just a short piece of the video that I have for you because there's no better way than creating together. So let's get to my work table and get started on two little projects where I can show you and also tell you about my material use, what I like, what I do not like, or what I would do with like affordable, cheaper materials, or what I could make and do with the Tim Holtz materials. So let's get started! So here we are on my work table. I have selected some materials for the first project. I have 2 cards, just white, very simple, nothing fancy. I have some scrap pieces of paper, book pages, and I have some cheaper kind of ephemeras from China, and these are from my creative time when I was swapping a lot and making snail mails. So yeah, this is the version that is beginner friendly. What I am trying to achieve as an end result is that I want these 2 cards in the end be together, attached to each other, so you can flip it open and close it again. And in the top piece of paper I would like to cut out a frame. So that is quite easy in materials, a ruler and a knife. That's it. This is our starting point. I have the front and the back of this little booklet, and the front has the cutout frame. Right now I would like to embellish those pieces, both, because you want something to be there. So I'm going to use some book pages and these little pieces of ephemera to fill in all those blank areas. Easy supplies is just a scissor and a glue stick to stick it down. And this is how the first piece looks like. I also would like to roughen up the edges a little bit. No fancy tools needed if you do not have them. Just take your scissors and use one of those blades and scrape it along the sides. Here is a little bit of a close-up. It's a little bit more rough. The front I'm going to do a little bit more different because I want several pieces of different kind of papers on there. So let's get started. I'm looking at my papers, which pieces I like, where are my eyes drawn to. So I think this piece is lovely and I'm going to see if it will fit. And I think that will be beautiful on the bottom of the frame. And the reason that I have been working with these kind of materials is when you are a beginner, you do not want to buy the whole craft store, and you just want to try and see for yourself if you like this kind of crafting. And no better way than to do that with just some kind of cheaper materials. So when you do not like it, you do not have to spend a whole lot of money. What I also find very interesting is that I work very nicely with these materials. They are affordable, so you do not have like the anxiety to fail in making, because when you have old book pages like these, you have a book full maybe from the thrift store, so you have more than enough that you can use over and over again. So if this would be like a fail, you can do it again and again. What I also find nice to do is I have glued these pieces down right now, But to give it a little bit more of a rough look, I really like it to peel off just some corners to give it a little bit of a rough effect. Something like this. For the frame, I'm also going to use my scissor to roughen up the edges. Just open your scissor like this and use one of the blades to scrape along the sides. I want some brownish ink along the sides, so I'm going to use the Distress Ink Vintage Photo. And I thought it was like a makeup brush that I got at like the dollar store or something. This is a great solution when you do not have like a blending tool. And I'm also going to hit those white areas with the brownish ink because I have some leftover pieces of paper and glue on there. It will get a little bit more of a dirty look, a little bit stained and grunged up, and that is really what I like. Right now we are looking on the inside of the frame. I want that covered too, and I'm going to use the same book pages as I did over here. And you can also imagine that the possibilities are endless, because when you go to like a flea market or a thrift store with a lot of books or magazines, well, that will be like the jackpot for this kind of hobby, because they have so many books with flowers, with plants, with maybe old photos of people, maybe some artist books. On the inside page, I would like to create just a very simple pocket that will go on the width of the page. And I would like to bring back in this little bit of a greenish color, but this is a very lightweight paper, so I want to make that a little bit more heavy, and I will glue a piece down on, this is just a regular card base. To get a better access inside of the pocket when you want to put something in and pull something out, I will make a little notch over here with this circle punch. And this is just one of those items that you will use in this hobby over and over again. So when you do have some money to spend, I would definitely buy a couple of punches because you will use them a whole lot. Now give it a good rub of a brownish ink. I'm using the Distress Ink Vintage Photo, but you could also use the archival ink, Vintage Photo or Ground Espresso. And this is also an item that I use daily. So if you want to invest some money, you can do that in those inks. I have some distress inks from Tim Holtz, but I also have some beautiful archival inks. And the main difference is that the distress inks are water soluble and the archival inks are waterproof. Time to glue the pocket down, and I am using the Aleene's Tacky Glue, the original one. You can see in the meantime that on the right side of me I have gathered some pieces of ephemera. This is also a good tip for beginners, and this is also very affordable. When you have some digital kits that you can buy and download, you can use them over and over again. And there are so many beautiful kits that you can use. What I have laying right here are kits from the lovely Tracie Fox and also from the lovely Artie Mays. Out of that pile I chose those two cute little tabs. I'm going to ink them up a little bit, and I will going to put them on the side, just so you will have little cute sticking out parts. We have those two parts, the frame, the cover, and the page with the pocket, but I also want to have and find a way to adhere them together so it will like open. And I found this roll of physical therapy tape that they put like on your shoulders and knees to tape you in, and I already have cut this into two pieces, and I only need one. I will line the back and the front together, and I will clip them down to hold them in place just with two paper clips, so I can have my full attention for the spine. Okay, like so. Then we will have the tape, the strip of tape. Let me peel off the backing first. And I have chosen a white color because this can be changed when you have some inks. This is what we have right now. This is a little bit too white for me, so I will get back in there with some of the distress ink, and I will make it a little bit more brownish so it will match this little booklet. In my stash I found some beautiful pieces of ephemera. I want to give them a rub of brown ink before I glue them down, so that is what I'm going to do next. I will ink them up all, and then we will make a beautiful setting inside the pocket and make a beautiful layered piece. So you will see pieces of all the ephemera in front and behind each other. I will start with the larger pieces because they will go in the background. I also love to add some sticking out parts like this, so I will glue that to the back of that little card. I can also see here in the upper left corner it is quite empty, so it could use a little bit of love and attention, and I found this cute little label that I'm going to glue on that spot. This is in close-up how it looks right now. Let's build some more layers. It is also perfectly fine to glue this front piece of paper to the inside of the pocket, so it will stay there and be in a steady spot. And I will also do that with this label. I will glue it to the inside of the pocket. I also like to repeat same materials again and again, so over here you can see I have put in a label with a brown edge, and I am going to repeat the step but then in a rectangle shaped label, and I will glue that to the front, and then maybe later on you can stamp on top of it. And that is also what you can do for this label, because you can see this part is sticking out and it's quite clear, blank. So this is blank, this is blank. It would be nice to give it a little bit of more interest and coverage. So a nice stamped word or some numbers would be nice on those empty labels. A lot of times I would like to add a pop of color extra because now we have brown tones and of course we have the green tones that we already work with, but I would also like to add a pop of red. So I have some little labels over here that I'm going to use to give it just an extra color into this project. And for this little piece of ephemera, I'm going to use the stapler to staple it down, and I will staple it to one of the larger pieces of ephemera in the background in this corner. And look how cute that is. I noticed that this label isn't, well, it's not staying on there. It could go deeper into the pocket, so this will like slide down. I do not want that. I would like it to stay in place. So I got out a mini paper clip. And this is really what I love. I have a piece of word over here. This number is still visible. Then we have the stamping part. This piece of the number is still visible. A little bit of text over here. So it's all overlapping, but there are quite some points that your eyes are drawn to. What I did not like is that the tape that we put on the outside of this little booklet is still visible over here. So I'm going to make a strip of paper with a torn edge and glue it down just to cover it up a little bit. And this is what it will look like after covering up the white tape. I like it better this way, and it also gives another opportunity to maybe layer on top of this piece with some little pieces of ephemera, so you will have a nice looking edge. So let's focus on that for our next step. I have found this label very nice and cute, and it will fit this side, this strip of paper, but I think when you look at measurements, this is just a little bit too big, and you can make a simple solution just by cutting it on the top, glue the cut edge against this edge, so it will look like it's already been glued before and it's underneath and coming out. And this is what I mean. It looks like it is coming from underneath, and it is a layer that has already been glued before. To make this a little bit more embellished on some wider areas, I found this tape in my old stash. It is also from the time that I was snail mailing a whole lot and swapping, so you exchange all kinds of little things. I think this tape was from that time, and yeah, it's nice to just tear off some little pieces and stick them down here and there. It does not have to be like a very big piece of tape. Just a small piece will do the job of creating interest in your work. This is what we created as a first version with the affordable materials, and of course also materials that you can find in the thrift store. Now I have the same cutout out of the Tim Holtz paper pad, and well, the pages are, the sheets of paper are large enough just to create it just in once. And in this case I had two loose paper panels, but this is already just in one go. And I have already cut out the frame in the middle, same size as I did for this one, because I'm going to keep it as similar as possible, but I want to show you how to work and how I work with the Tim Holtz supplies. You can see that this paper is already beautiful on its own. It does not need a lot of like collaging around those edges that I did in the first version. This is just already pretty and good to go. First thing that I'm going to do is to roughen up the edges, because I really like that way, the way it looks. And I will do that on the outside and also on the inside of the frame. So this is the Tim Holtz paper distresser. It has those little gaps. There's a little knife in between. Let me see if I can show you a little bit better. And that is what you will scrape along those paper edges. Also, a nice extra thing with these papers is that it is double-sided, so you have a pattern on one side and also on the other side, so you are immediately done. And I have some leftovers of this paper, and I'm always using it in the project that I am working on, so you will keep everything in the same style and it will all match each other. And because the inside is quite neutral, I would like to bring back in a little bit of color when we are creating the pockets. The only thing I need to do is to line this up with the bottom line, just cut it into the right size, and well, immediately you will have your pocket done. One of the ways that you can attach this pocket is by gluing it on the right, bottom and left side. You will put a little bit of glue, but I really enjoy to make a stitched look. So I'm going to use my sewing machine and stitch along all sides. And also I think I will go around the frame, and I will leave on some longer threads when I'm done. But before stitching this pocket down, I will give the edges a little bit of color, a brownish ink. I have got out the archival ink ground espresso. It's a bit of a darker brown this time, and I think that will look really cool and a little bit grungy on those edges. Time to stitch! I will give you a close-up of the stitching. You do not have to be a very professional stitcher to do so, so I definitely think you can do this too. And this is what I meant by leaving on those threads. It's just a little extra thing, a little bit of interest in your work, and yeah, that is what I really love to see. I have not inked up those edges yet, so I'm going to ink up around this whole booklet. And still working in the same color, the ground espresso archival ink. Now we have a pretty good base to work on even further. On this mini booklet we did not do a whole lot of embellishments on the front frame, so I'm going to keep it quite similar, but then in the Tim Holtz style on this one. I got out one of the snippets, the numbers, and I will put it down here in the corner. And I also have a piece of fabric scraps from Tim Holtz, and I will put it down here so you can easily lift up and close the booklet. Before gluing any of my papers down, I always prepare my papers by roughening up the edges with the paper distresser and giving them a little bit of a rub with brownish ink, just to make it look a little bit more worn and torn. I am inking with the Distress Ink Vintage Photo, which is a great old vintage vibe that you can create. And the glue that I'm using is the Distress Collage Medium from Tim Holtz. Even though this is a piece of fabric, you can still age it a little bit and also use the same ink that you do on your papers. So I'm using the Distress ink to grunge it up a little bit and make it matching in the same color scheme. A very nice and easy way to get your materials down is also to use the tiny attacher. So I will put 2 staples in, one on the top and one on the bottom. I have got out some of my Tim Holtz materials and I really enjoy this style. It is always a matching, no matter if you have like a photo, a tag, some little pieces of ephemera. You can put it all together and it looks great. To keep this booklet in the same style that I did on the previous version, I have selected a couple of materials to fill this pocket up. What I have over here is just a white square piece of paper. On top there will be this collage tile from Tim Holtz with this cute and adorable little guy. I mean, that is already an eye catcher. This square will only be glued down here, so that means this is still open. So you can put your ephemera in there in the pocket and it's still very useful. The pieces of ephemera that I have selected, I have looked for the same colors because in the frame there's already some green tones, a little bit of blue. I kept it in those tones. So I want to have some green and neutral colors around the boy and maybe a little bit underneath in some layers. But so you can definitely see it is all matching color-wise. Let's start with this white square. I will ink it up. And I will also do that for the picture of the little boy. Next step will be to glue the photo down and make sure to pay attention that it is centered in the middle of the white square. Next step is to center this piece on the pocket and glue it down. But you have to make sure that your front view, like all the white lines, are quite even, because that is the most nice looking thing to do. As soon when you have the right spot, keep your fingers in place, press the photo over here. This is not going to be glued. So then you will have like some room to glue down the bottom piece of this photo onto the pocket. I will press it down and also immediately will check if my frame is still in the right spot, and when it's not, the glue has not dried yet, so make sure you move it around until the place is correct. I have a piece of a bingo card cut out because I only want the numbers. So I'm quickly going to give it some glue because I want this as a layer. So I have to pick this up. The ink is still wet, but I want it underneath. and then quickly glue it down as an extra layer. I have found a cute label and I want it a little bit underneath this frame. So I have to pick it up just a little bit of the lower part of the photo, so I can push it underneath here. Now I have the room, so I will glue it down. And it does not matter when your photo, because it's already glued, that you are going to pick it up again just for a small piece, and those edges will ruffle maybe a little bit. But I think that will add to the vintage style and charm. So to me, it is no problem at all. And this is what it looks like up close. The label is empty, as you can see. You can leave it like that, you can write something on there, you can stamp on it, but for today I am going to use the Tim Holtz remnant rubs, the eccentric ones, and I'm going to look for a word or for a row of numbers that will perfectly fit this size of label. You can see over here it says identification cardstock, but do not be afraid just to cut it into the size that you want. And my measurement for this label on this mini booklet will perfectly fit the word identification card. So I will leave the stop word on here. So I'm only going to cut these two words out because it's a nice match. And look how cute that looks. When this frame is closed like this, I would like just a little bit of an embellishment here down in the corner, the bottom corner on the right side. And I have just a little piece of ephemera that will do the job quite perfectly. So you have the embellishment in front view, but also when you open it, there is something extra over there. For the inside of the pocket, I have some neutral colors, this text piece of ephemera, a salvaged tag, and some green ephemeras, an old bingo card, and a piece of, it says public school. And what I'm looking for is for those words like inspected and approved, like public school, maybe some numbers, that it will be visible. So this piece is like perfect fit for the background. Then I want my tag to be more on this side because this text is important to me. I want some text to be visible. And this is what I mean, just a piece of the word that is still visible. I can even put it a little bit more to the left and connect the word against the side of the frame. That looks amazing. For me, this is more connected. Then to bring in back some of the green tones, I am going to stick this a little bit on the left side and make sure that some of those numbers are visible, so you will create an extra layer on the left. And then one piece I have left over is this piece with the text public school. You can use this text just for an extra layer like this, so it will stick out just above the photo frame. And then look how easy and simple it was to create multiple layers and to make it look matching. I will take everything out again because of course I have not done my inking. So that is my next step to do. I will ink up all my pieces of ephemera. You could very well see when this was in place inside of the pocket. We used this word as an extra layer, but you can also see that on top this tag is quite empty, quite neutral and blank. I do not like that. I want something to be there. So I'm going to add some remnant drops and make more interest with a word or some numbers on the top. And like I just already explained, I want it to be a fit on the top of my tag. So not every word or every row of numbers is a great fit, but you can make it fit, just cut it into the right size. Using remnant drops is also a fun and nice way when you do not have any stamps yet. Maybe you are a beginner in this hobby, you do not have stamps. So this looks really much like stamping on your work because the material is quite thin and it blends very well in the background. I am also keeping in mind that this circle, I do not want it to be covered because when there's maybe some text on it, it will be more underneath and not on top. So I will keep that in mind when placing the remnant drop. And then the other side of the remnant drop will go over here. And there you go. I will put it all back in there again and just take a second look at my layering and how everything will work out, or maybe the things that will not work out. So you can get a good view of what you want to change or what you need to change. Now I have moved my pieces around a little bit. So I have pulled the tag a little bit more upwards. So this 102 number is really on the edge of the ephemera piece with the public school word on it. This word, the public school, is really on top of the photo frame. And here I have 2 rows of numbers that are sticking out on the left. And I think my layout overall is good as it is, because you can also still see the back paper with some text on it. The only area that is catching my eyes right now is this area. It's still white, blank, empty. So I'm going to search for something to fill this gap up, and I will be right back with you. What I have found to fill up blank spaces are the Tim Holtz classic labels in the colors pink, black, red and blue. And because my project is a little bit in green and blue tones, I'm going for the blue ones. It just needs a little detail, so I'm not going too big on the labels. So I'm searching for a little one. This might fit, or maybe you want an oval, but I want it just right in between this area. And I will pick this little guy. I will ink it up so it's immediately ready to go. And what I also like is just not to put it there in whole, but I want to cut off just a little strip so it will come from the side. Yeah, that will work. And there you go. While the rest is already quite green, I want to repeat this color and maybe this label, or a kind of label like this, an oval, a circle. I want to repeat this step to make it more cohesive together. I want to make it look that this piece of label is coming underneath from somewhere and that it will not be on top. So I'm going to see if I can make that happen down here on the bottom to connect all the little pieces of paper that are already there. Most of the time I like to work also in a triangle, and that helped me very much in my beginning years. So I have put a blue label over here, I have put one over here, and I want to put one on top on this back piece of paper of ephemera, and I'm going to do the same like I did on the other ones. I will just cut off a little bit and make it look it is coming from the edge. And this is how it looks like. And by triangle I mean 1, 2, 3. And that is the idea and the tip that I have been given in the past, just to, yeah, it's to hold on to know there is some kind of trick that you can use to make a balanced look on your work. So yeah, it helped me very much. When you see that there is movement in your papers, so they can like shuffle around a little bit, and you do not want that, you really want to be sure they are secured, there are some possibilities to get them more locked. So you can set them with just a mini paper clip or this tiny clip, a tiny attacher. I am going for the mini paper clip today, and why? Because this still needs to be closed, and the tiny clip that I just showed you has more volume, so you will get like a bump in your papers when you want to press this down. So I'm going for the flattest thing that I have, the paper clip. I made sure I locked the paper clip behind our biggest piece of ephemera in the back, and on top of those 2 layers that had movement in them. That means the 2 green pieces over here. And here we have the 2 end results. So this is the affordable solution for beginners when you have like old book pages, old magazines, some cheaper kind of ephemera, maybe from China or from a swap that you have done or received. And of course I did the digital kits inside with the labels. And here is my love and my favorite, the Tim Holtz supplies, which really always match up with each other. Beautiful papers that have an instant wow effect. Lovely photos and pictures in the ideology line. Little pieces of ephemera, some bigger pieces of ephemera, so you can layer very well from the bigger pieces in the back to some smaller pieces up front. And yeah, and I really adore this vintage style. This was my video for you today. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you had the time to craft along. When you did and you have some pictures, just put them up in the group so we can all see them. And besides this side note, I would like to say, if you have any questions for me personally or creatively, just put them down in the comment section and I will answer them for you. Thank you for watching today and have a great day. Bye!